White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller seems to finally have had enough with Democrats in the media defending the worst types of people in the world and went off on a heated rant over the reality and impact on children that isn't talked about enough that illegal immigration actually has. This is eye-opening, and I'm going to build up to Miller's frustration here in this video. The fact that the majority of Americans do not want criminal illegals in our country is something that CNN just cannot wrap their heads around, and watch what happens and the looks on their faces when they are forced to hear the Trump approval rating on how he is handling immigration. This is hilarious. But finally, Tim Walz's daughter is at it again and made this absolutely insane claim about Trump and immigration and Jesus. This is, well, you decide for yourself. I'm Zach Costello.
If Jesus were alive today and in the United States, this administration would have already taken him and removed him from this country without due process, claimed he was a member of the MS-13 gang as a way to try to justify not giving him due process, as if there is any justifiable reason to not giving somebody due process. But yeah, some people don't want to talk about that. It truly is baffling how clear and laid out everything is, and there is still people standing by it. I believe in the good of people and like humanity, humans, you know, deep down at our core, like we care about each other. But that's really being tested, because how anyone is okay with this is terrifying to me. But yeah, if you look like me, speak up, speak out, because we might be the only ones safe from what's coming and some of the only people that are able to stop it. So yeah, it's our duty at this point.
If Jesus were an MS-13, he would have been deported from America under the Trump administration. If Jesus were in a violent criminal gang, if Jesus wasn't Jesus, if my aunt had testicles, she'd be my uncle. Good stuff. Keep talking. But CNN is just as delusional. The fact that the majority of Americans do not want criminal illegals in our country is something that they just cannot wrap their heads around, and watch what happens. And look at the look on their faces when they are forced to hear the Trump approval rating on how he is handling immigration. Then we'll finish with Stephen Miller going off.
Okay, let's talk about the polling. Then I want to talk about another thing you mentioned, which is the optics of it. But on the polling, because I think this is important. He's right. Trump has his best favorability on the issue of immigration broadly. But can I ask you to explain something to me?
Please.
You have some polling that shows Americans would be okay with everybody being deported who's here illegally. There's also polling that asks more specifically, if you have been in the United States for 10 years, you paid taxes, you have no criminal record, but you are undocumented, do you support deporting those people? 63% oppose that. So how do we even make sense of these numbers?
Yeah, sometimes it's so interesting. You poll the public, and it turns out the public can hold conflicting views even within themselves, right? And it's part of my job to figure out, okay, where do they actually feel on the overall immigration picture? And I think it's important to note, as we have mentioned, is that Donald Trump's net approval rating on immigration is actually positive, which is very much unlike his first term. If you ask, are we on the right track or the wrong track when it comes to immigration policy, the plurality say that we're on the right track, which is very different from where we were just a few months ago under Joe Biden. So, yeah, you see those polling and you see it's conflicting. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of the gun control debate, right? Where you see, oh, my God, 90% background checks. And then, of course, you look at ballot measures in places like Nevada and Maine. And then when it's actually on the ballot, it's basically 50-50. In my opinion, on this particular topic, what we're really talking about, and the metric we should be looking to, is do people like, when they ask, do you like what Donald Trump's doing on immigration? And if the plurality says yes, which is what's going on, then that's the number that I think is most representative of the public at large.
What Americans have very little tolerance for are the masses of people who were let into this country by the Biden administration, who hate our country and our values and have no respect for human life. And this is what Stephen Miller loses it over here.
Do you know how many stories I could tell you of children that were trafficked across the border and raped because of the policies of Joe Biden? There aren't enough volumes that could fit into a library to calculate the carnage that has been inflicted by the Democrat Party's policy of open borders. We can spend the rest of our lives trying to document those harms. Where does our whole country go to get repaid for all of the wealth, all of the prosperity and security that has been stolen from us by decades of uncontrolled illegal mass migration? Because we all deserve reparations for what has been stolen from us. It is a tragedy that defies our ability to even describe it.
The open border policy created a humanitarian crisis that no one on the left or mainstream media seems to care about. Thousands and thousands of children have been misplaced or lost as a result of these catastrophic policies, and this is a dark reality that is constantly ignored. I'm Zach Costello.